Hype is never real in an MMORPG. Blue Protocol follows the cycle of an MMORPG that is hyped because it's new. Then in 6 to 8 months later, it's a dead game. What do you think, Chris?
I would say you could remove the MMORPG part, and this would be true of most things, right? Like a movie is hyped before it comes out, and then it comes out, and in 6 to 8 months, it's basically direct to DVD. It's all over. So like Mario right now is the hot movie, and it's doing really well, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, movie theaters are saved. Everything's going to be amazing forever. And then in 6 to 8 months, nobody's going to be talking about Mario. Like that'll be the end of it. I mean, Top Gun was a movie that released like last year and like shattered box office records. And I think there's probably people like, oh yeah, like so we're very short-minded because there's always something new around the corner. It's why I don't get really hyped. Now, the other side of that is I really feel this way. I don't get that hyped about games. Feel like, how are you gonna have time for all these new games? I'm not, because I'm really not that worried about it. Because in 6 to 8 months, we'll find out which ones I regret that I didn't play. Most of them, it'll be fine. But the downside is hype looks really fun. Like as somebody that doesn't get super hyped about most things, I'm a little bit jealous because I can remember being a kid and getting excited about what I was getting for Christmas when I like highlighted it we used to get those catalogs. They were for like the mall or like Sears or something. I don't know. You get this big catalog. It was like a whole thing of like toys and clothes and everything. And each kid would be given 10 Post-it notes, and you could pick any 10 things in the whole catalog. So you'd be flipping through, picking your favorite 10 toys. And they would say, like, just remember, the bigger the price tag, the less likely you get it. So if you pick 10 cheap things, you might get them all. And so so you were just trying to like position your 10 Post-it notes in the Sears Christmas catalog. This was like a real thing. And so like I would dig through it and try to put my Post-it notes, and this thing would ship in like October. And so like all through November, you're moving your Post-it notes around, you're talking with your siblings, your friends at school, like this is where my Post-it notes are going. And you're like so pumped. I don't get that way about anything anymore. Like it just doesn't. And so like
dead inside.
I'm a little dead inside. And I think it's because the number of times that like on Christmas morning it showed up and you're like, yeah, I got the same 1 or 2 gifts I got last year, and they turned out to just be toys. Like they didn't change my life. So I think I just got let down enough times that now I don't have the ability to get hyped for Blue Protocol to the degree that I see people that just seem like genuinely passionate. So when I go, a friend had an extra ticket to a hockey game, so I went with him recently, and like the people behind me were like literally all but like chest painted, yelling and shouting, and like there's something really cool about that. And so people that are excited for Blue Protocol, that's awesome. I have a feeling that in 6 to 8 months, those people are just painted up with a different game on their chest, because they're just going to move on. Like they're not, the reason Blue Protocol is dead because all those hype people just moved on to the next party. Right. And then from there they'll move on to the next party. So
and they'll just keep moving on. And that's where I think when it comes to the dead game mentality, where it gets frustrating, is because a lot of people look at that hype number as some true sense of the community, as some true sense of who this game is for and who wants to continue to play it. And because they move on, it always ends up looking like a game loses massive chunks, which people equate that to being some kind of sign that the game isn't good, when in reality, they just go play something else. And that's why we've seen the model shift back into this kind of more seasonal approach of just make new content and people will come back for it. You know, that marketing, that cycle of hype, that cycle of the grind, and that cycle of complain whenever you've done everything, and then you just go move on to the next hyped MMO. And we see that happen all the time. And you have the micro hype cycles and the macro hype cycles, where within a typical expansion. So Final Fantasy XIV cycle to this point is very reliable. You understand exactly when it's going to happen, and you understand when the drama is going to happen, and you understand when, you know, these things are going to happen, because you can set, and you have already, Chris, set your calendar, your spreadsheet to these dates and more. And so in this regards, yes, this is what's going to happen with Blue Protocol, or insert any game. But what's really going to make the difference of Blue Protocol and other games is that, do they continue to develop the game? Do they continue to release content as a way, a reinvitation of to bring people back in for that next round of hype? And we shouldn't count, this is obviously wishes and fishes here at this point, because there's no way that I can sit here and stop people from having that mentality. But the business model that they're offering with the battle pass and the free to play makes it very easy for people to validate for themselves if they're going to enjoy the game. What you end up seeing is that, especially in games like a subscription model, you have these extra barriers that then cause people to pause and go out to the internet and then decide if they want to based off of what somebody is commenting. And so I think we're also hopefully going to see the end of the power that kind of meme has, the dead game meme, where you're like, oh, well, all right. Oh, it's online. I can go play it. And it asks me for nothing. I'll go try it out for myself because I'm bored and I'm looking for something to do today. What do you think?
We've definitely become like a culture that's been very blessed with a lot of games. And so a lot of what you're describing is only possible because we can churn through. There's always going to be another game.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you don't want to be excited about a particular genre or about games that haven't released, like that's an area that I really struggle with, is games that aren't even out. Like, it's easier for me to be excited for patch 6.4, which is really not wildly inventive for Final Fantasy 14. If I honestly look at it, I'm more excited for that than I am Blue Protocol, because like that's the type of thing. Like, it's easier for me to like base that in reality. Yeah. Some people like that lack of reality. They like that it could be anything. Yeah. But the great thing is we live in a time now where we don't have to all try to be excited about the same 5 games. This is everything you're describing is only possible because it's a great time to be a gamer. Oh yeah. There's 65,000 games on the horizon. There's 5 of them releasing every single month in whatever genre you like. It's just a really easy time. Yeah. And as a result, like, you're seeing publishers have gotten so big that there are publishers that are like, I don't even need E3 anymore. So E3's canceled this year because we live in an industry where individual publishers have realized that their own in-house event can be large enough to replace the need for something like E3. E3 went away not because the industry got smaller, but because it got so big, it didn't make sense to try to consolidate it into one convention anymore. That's a crazy time. Most industries, if something the size of E3 goes away, that's it dying. It's falling apart. It's on the decline. This failed for the opposite reason. This failed because Sony's like, oh no, our own thing's too big. And Square Enix is like, we could do our own thing. And Nintendo's already doing their own thing. And so that's what a cool place to go, where something like BlizzCon gets 40,000 attendees when they have one. And it's one part of one publisher. That's not even all of Activision. It's one part. Like, it's insane that this is where we're at. So that's why the hype can be so consumption based, where it can just churn and burn these games. So everything you're describing, like, I think the perspective that I take is like, what an amazing first world problem to have, that we can churn these, because I can take an entire team's life's work. Some of these games take years to make, and I can talk about it for 6 months, and then I can just forget about it. Yeah. Just throw it out with the garbage.